Thank you, Vice Chair Wagner. The chair now recognizes Mr. Bera.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to first acknowledge and thank Ms. Shamblin for being here. I know your family's from Roseville, which is approximate to my district in Sacramento County. And from what I've learned about Nicole, she loved being a Marine. She loved serving our country. She loved serving humanity. And when I think about what I love about the United States of America is I don't think about this as a Democrat or a Republican. I think about what our values are, values of freedom, of democracy, the obligations that we have in terms of global security and protecting those values around the world. So, Mr. Secretary, I want to applaud you and the administration in these first 2 years. You acknowledge that the world has changed. I mean, there are new threats out there, and I applaud the coalition building that the administration's done, keeping a coalition together in protecting and preserving the freedom of the Ukrainian people and the country there. I also want to applaud the trilateral alliance with Japan and Korea, which is at a very different place today than when you came into office, elevating the Quad coalition. And in this 21st century security architecture, it will take coalitions of like-valued countries that really do share those values, the values that Nicole held dearly, and the best way to serve her memory is to continue to preserve these American values. You're here to talk about the budget, and obviously an area that I spend a lot of time on is the competition in the Indo-Pacific. I appreciate the budget that you put forth in our competition with the People's Republic of China. In the proposal, there's $400 million in discretionary funding in the counter-PRC influence fund, but there's also over $11 billion of mandatory funding that is part of our effort to outcompete China. It's often, it's unusual to see a mandatory request in there, and I think what staff informs me is we'll have to, as a committee, put forth authorizing legislation. But I'd like to give you a chance to talk about why the mandatory funding is so important to our efforts to outcompete China.
Thank you. I very much appreciate that. And I think it reflects what I'm hearing from many members of this committee, Democrats and Republicans alike, which is a recognition that when it comes to China, this is a generational challenge for us. And in our judgment, discretionary funding alone will not help us get the job done in terms of outcompeting China, where we are in intense competition. We are providing in the budget and the plan that goes along with it new and innovative ways to try to provide viable alternatives at scale that discretionary funding alone can't meet. And when I say viable alternatives, I mean things that countries around the world, potential partners, existing partners, need and are looking for, and that the United States hopefully can help provide. We've got long-term projects that need funding up front to cover longer periods than discretionary funding allows, and the predictability and the insulation from annual fluctuations for this discrete set of programs we think would be incredibly valuable. It's a little bit modeled on what we see as the success of the CHIPS and Science Act, where the State Department was given money over 5 years to work with other countries to secure semiconductor supply chains, downstream all the way, and upstream, as well as to try to make sure that countries that were developing information communications technology were doing so in secure ways with trusted vendors so that those networks were safe and secure. That's a good model, and it's replicated more broadly in this budget request.
Well, I think it's a model that sends a signal to not only the people PRC, but to the countries in the region. Certainly the $7.1 billion for the COFA countries sends a strong signal to the Pacific Islands that America's there. We're committed. We're going to be there for the long haul, and we have their back. And again, this committee will have to work on authorizing language. I would hope that language reflects the concern with China, and that we can do that and work with the administration to make sure that that funding is there. Just in the brief time I have left, can you talk about the importance of the trilateral relationship and the place where I applaud President Yoon for his leadership as well as Prime Minister Kishida.
Yeah, I share that view, and I think for us to make sure that our two closest allies and partners in the region, Japan and Korea, not only are strengthening their relationships and partnerships with us, but are doing so between themselves and among the three of us trilaterally, further enhances not only our security, but our ability to get lots of things done around the world. We bring to bear the strengths of our three countries, of course, dealing with challenges posed by China, North Korea, but again, in so many other areas, including the provision of humanitarian assistance, including having safe and secure maritime domains, working in outer space together. There are a multiplicity of things that we're doing through this trilateral coordination. President Biden brought the two leaders together.
Gentleman's time has
and we're
expired.
doing that at every level.
I now